And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
We are back for another week. And tonight's show is going to put a lot of stress on me because I got double duty tonight because not only do we have a 2-hour show in store for you tonight, but I've also got to run weather tracker on our buddy Brett down here. Because just as you guys saw all the lightning that was on the screen in our intro, he's got about that much lightning going on in the background of his exclusive office that he uses for our show. So
the deer stand.
The double wide deer stand looks like it might be a little dangerous tonight. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. Let's see if he's still all right so far. Well, I can see him in the background, but I can't see him when I put him on screen. So
no,
I think he might be froze. So
some people's kids, right? Some people's kids. So how was your weekend, Ed? How was the weekend for you? I don't know, say Sunday.
I had a great weekend up until about 7:30 on Sunday night. And I realized real quick that it was probably going to be better served for me to go out and mow the yard because some game I was watching on TV was pretty much over by halftime. So
what a snooze fest.
I think the weather tracker, we may have found him. He was running down the street for a minute there, I think.
I don't know. It doesn't look like he's quite ready yet. He's dodging lightning bolts, landing airplanes, and
he's waving us off. He's waving us off. So so
I mean, but honestly, what a snoozer of a game. I mean, I guess unless you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan where you don't, you hope the score is 56-0 because you enjoy every single point. You enjoy every single, whatever happens. But I mean, have you seen a team that has been talked up so much that, has had the success that Kansas City has had, played really well against Buffalo in the AFC Championship game, show up to the Super Bowl and at nearly every phase of the game, lay an absolute egg. Just laying an egg. I mean, I think we're getting the thumbs up from the land and the plane. I think we're good. Brett, what's up, bud?
Man, just dodging raindrops and lightning strikes, man.
Jeez, you guys get all the moisture down there. You guys have had more snow down there than we've had here in Iowa this year, I think.
And this is supposed to be a drought buster for us. It's been dry the last little bit. All that snow went south of us a couple weeks ago.
Oh, well, we got about 4 inches.
When we get to talking about the Super Bowl, we'll
Speaking of drought busters, the Super Bowl.
So to get started, we got to talk about something that's much more interesting right now, and that has to be the UFL, doesn't it, Brett?
And we're getting close. What, about 2 weeks away from camp? It'll be here before we know it.
February 24th, coaches report. February 27th, players report. So it was 16, 17 days away from players hitting camp.
I can't wait. Most of the teams today released, which we shared it on the bottom line. The only team that did not share today, and I'm sure it'll be sometime this week, is the DC Defenders did not share. But all the other teams, including Birmingham, St. Louis, Michigan, all shared links and little gift giveaways for everyone to sign up. And that every one of them mentioned single game tickets. So I checked earlier. The single game tickets are not on sale yet, but obviously that is forthcoming pretty soon.
There was Birmingham's, and here was San Antonio's, and the Memphis Showboats had one out. So yeah, I mean it's nice to see that they're at least trying to do a little marketing this year, though. So that's a good thing.
And they are blowing up Facebook, X, Instagram, all their social media platforms. They're blowing up with a lot of content, and it's nice to see. It's been totally different than last year. I know for a fact there might have been something that went down in one of the markets last night, a get together, and they're planning on having to get together there again next week. And they had a really good crowd, and it's one of the markets that need to kind of pick things up on attendance. So I'm excited, man. There's some boots on the ground. I shared the new ticket guys that are responsible for Birmingham and Memphis earlier tonight. Unfortunately, Corey Helvey, which has been with the original XFL 2020, I've known him since 2019. He was the ticket guy for the Tampa Bay Vipers. Then he was with the Guardians last year or the year before with the XFL, and then he came on and was responsible for Birmingham and Memphis. He finally got him a championship last year, and now he's got a promotion and is headed to DC for the Washington Capitals. They're spending $700-800 million to renovate their stadium, and Corey's responsible for selling that baby out. So congratulations, Corey. I know you watched the show some. We're happy for you, proud for you. We really miss you in Birmingham and miss you in spring football. But he said he would definitely still be following the league and would probably become a season ticket holder for the DC Defenders moving forward.
So I got to put out a little appeal to the listeners. I've been trying to work on my UFL backdrop, and I got quite a bit of stuff back there, but there's a few teams that I need some help with. I mean, I have a Memphis Showboat flag, and I'll have that up at one of these weeks. But when you put up the Memphis Showboat flag, you pretty much, it takes up the whole thing, because their flag is about the busiest flag that I've got as far as logo and name and everything from one side to the other.
How'd you get such a busy one when I got this one?
I got a DC flag that I'm going to be putting up, but again, DC's flag is got a lot on it too. So I got to really appeal to the Michigan people out there. I don't have nothing for Michigan. And when you go out there and try and find towels, flags, whatever for Michigan, it's pretty slim pickings. So any of you Michigan fans out there got an extra towel or two, send it my way so I can add it to the backdrop. We've got let's see who else. I got a lot of Memphis stuff, and I'll be putting that out. I got a little DC, I got a little Birmingham, as you see. Pretty light on Arlington. So if there's any Arlington fans out there that want to send me something, that'd be much appreciated.
And Lord willing, by kickoff, which is March 28th, by the way, I'm sure you haven't seen that anywhere recently. I'll have my own office / studio with a decent background and won't be out here at the what do you call it, tree stand?
Your portable tree stand.
The lighted shooting house that I do. So give me. I got 6 weeks to make it happen. And by the way, go ahead and announce it.
So
bring back the Seattle Dragons or Sea Dragons.
So Brett pretty much announced last week that Seattle won the poll that we put on our page for where the first expansion city should go. They come in overwhelmingly number one, so Brett decided he was going to represent them. You know, the one thing I can say too about that, you know, I'm a Battlehawk fan, but I'm not a Battlehawk homer. So the first home game that we have, Eric's driving down, and we're going to have an avenue of flags going. And we're going to have enough flagpoles that we're pretty much going to be able to fly the UFL flag, the bottom line flag, and pretty much every flag for every team if I can get the flags in enough time. So we're going to have a true avenue going on.
It's going to be pretty legitimate.
I might have to borrow a couple wheels from other tailgaters though, because
you're going to run out of wheels.
I'm going to have more flagpoles than I am wheels. So
what if we had a way we could put them up in the back of the bed of your truck? We're going to have to do some thinking. There's got to be some type of wooden contraption we could set up back there and just put the poles through them.
I got that.
Not duct tape. Trust me when I tell you, not duct tape. Looks like Lauren said, in case you missed it, I had a Battlehawk on my show.
So I did miss it, Lauren.
You did miss it. Why didn't you let us know?
Why don't you? Yeah, why didn't you let me know? You know, I'd have been watching that one.
We got to communicate.
Yeah, who was it, Lauren?
We're all in this together, you know. So you're gonna have a Battlehawk on there. You got to spread the word.
No, he's not giving it up. So
he's holding out.
Well,
so anything else, Brett?
Well, they always share their content to the United Football League fans group. That's probably the biggest or one of the biggest UFL fan groups out there. And we started it 2019 when it was the AAF. So it's been through some changes, but we're holding it 28,000 strong, and we're already got some few newbies coming in, getting ready for the season. Again, I keep track pretty close on all the platforms that the UFL's on. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they are doing a lot. They finally got some highlights to show from last season. They're doing, like I said, a lot of those gift giveaways that should really get things going. Season's going to be here in, awesome. Season's going to be here in, 6 weeks. We're looking to try to get some more coaches and some players on our show as well. Either way, we stay so busy with our regular job. We just do the best we can for you guys, but we do keep you updated on what's going on and you know, all the scuttlebutt, everything that we hear.
It's funny you say that, Brett, because why don't we, courtesy of the UFL, why don't we play a few of these and get everybody in the mood? I've been playing some of them, but there might be one or two that no one's seen, so let's watch a few.
And a beautiful Sunday morning.
He was pumping up his beer snake friends back in the door. on the field and in the stands in this league.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game. So let's get more. More action. More celebration. More unforgettable. More football. More of what you love.
This is more than a game. It's passion that fuels us. The action. My goodness. The excitement. The pride.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
Where stars emerge.
He got smoked.
Where legacies begin.
You're feeling awfully confident right now.
Where the future of football is taken to new heights.
Touchdown. Bam. He got whacked.
Get ready.
Just bad intentions. Wow.
For more football this spring.
Playing with some swagger.
A new UFL season kicks off on March 28th.
Real nice.
And the quality of football, the transparency of the rules and the calls and the officiating, the interaction between the players themselves. And if you haven't been to a UFL game and you're not a UFL fan and you're a hater, you're not about this life. You're not a true football fan.
I have made this argument with a couple of people and some that do agree. I said, listen, I've been in the stands and I've been watching on TV. I said, how many times have you sat in an NFL game and said, I wish I knew what they were talking about right now as to how they're seeing it the way they saw it? Or you look at a screen and you're like, clearly it crossed the line. And then when it comes back, oh, he's short. With the UFL, you can listen to him talk and say, listen, we just don't have the angle. I mean, you can hear the whole process play out and they say, we're just going to have to stick with the call on the field. You can agree with it or not, but you just heard the whole process, complete transparency, and then you talk about, I mean, I'm a football nerd this way, but I love listening to the offensive coordinator, calling the plays out. And I love listening to the quarterback talking in the huddle. And I mean, that's being more connected to the field. That's being more, let's face it. The UFL's technology when it comes to first downs blows the NFL out of the water.
Just like Lauren says here. Just like Lauren says he's looking to have the offensive line coach on from the Panthers soon. You can catch their podcast. What is it? My Panther Pride. They just started up this year. It was nice to see Michigan get podcast out there. So look forward to maybe teaming up with them and doing some things this year.
Again, guys, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know whether it's a month from now or 6 months from now, we're probably not going to be posting our shows live on Facebook anymore. You don't have to catch it on X or YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe. It's free. You get notified if we make any, if we make our videos. If you forget that our shows typically right now, Wednesday, 8 Central, that could change, depending on holidays coming up, the football season, no telling what will happen. But go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page. We just started that up here recently. We probably should have done that first. It is what it is. But, again, we want a lot of you fans who want to come on the show with us. We're going to try to get Bill Alexander on pretty soon. He runs the yacht club there in Memphis. He does a fantastic job for the league and for the community there in Memphis. So, any of you super fans are interested, we'd love to have you on the show one night as well.
Yeah, and we're some other news that went down this past week. About the time last week when all the coaching staffs were breaking for all the teams, Brad Grodkowski of the offensive coordinator for the St. Louis Battlehawks took a position as assistant offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. So the Battlehawks are going to have to either promote from within or look to add an offensive coordinator here in the 11th hour. But,
I wonder if we have any pull, if we could get Arlington's offensive coordinator over there. I mean, you think we'd have some kind of pull there.
I figured being a Hawkeye fan that I'd be able to send old Chuck Long a text and he'd jump right on the opening, but all I got was a laughing response. So
do you know why? I have determined there's a reason why we can't get Chuck Long back to St. Louis when he was with St. Louis in 2020. Because your golf game is so bad. You just got no street cred. None. Your golf game's bad, dude. You blew it. You blew it.
You got to know at one time this kid was almost on the tour. And
oh my God.
Then you go from being on the golf team in high school to golfing with buddies practically every day of the week while you're going to college. And then something happens where you get married and you start having kids. And suddenly golf becomes a pastime instead of a passion. And when you pick up a club for the first time in a year, it's amazing how foreign just the swing of the club seems.
Do you know what this wants to make me do, Brett? It beckons me to cue up Bruce Springsteen in Glory Days. Like, doesn't that sound like to you? Like, oh,
good song. They might shut down our show, but it's a good song.
If I wasn't so old, I could pad up tomorrow.
I would have been better versed to have been his media communicator that day and just do nothing but have a box of mini helmets and Iowa Hawkeye media guides that I could have just had him signing the whole day and not even picked up a club.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
It was that bad. Like,
and the hole. What was the hole, Eric? It was like a 6-inch wide hole or something.
8-inch cup. 8-inch cup.
Yeah, and I still couldn't hit a putt. No. So yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
It was bad, Brett. Like,
8-inch cup. I mean, y'all just straight up cheating, aren't you?
Well, it's a tournament. It's an end of the year tournament. The course is getting a little rough, stuff like that. And they always do an 8-inch cup. So scores get pretty low.
It's like we wanted to lure Chuck Long in, right? And we all know Chuck Long isn't exactly Arnold Palmer either. And we thought, how can we lure him in? And we thought 8-inch cup. 8-inch cup will get him here. And it worked, didn't it?
Well, I just wish you'd have played better. Maybe we'd have more influence.
So St. Louis was supposed to have their season ticket holder customer appreciation this tonight, actually. And because of a incoming winter storm, they moved it to next week. In fact, we had over 200 schools in the St. Louis and surrounding area cancel classes for today because, they were pre-treating the streets. It was like the second coming, and the mayor of St. Louis, who's running for mayor right now, she was having media sound bites about how she was going to be on top of keeping the roads clear. Oh,
my God.
So our school got canceled, thank God. And what was it? At 10:30 this morning, we finally got our first flake to fall. And by 12:30, 1 o'clock, it was raining. And so here we are. We had a day off of school, and we don't have one white flake outside whatsoever. So that's St. Louis in a nutshell right there.
Anybody south of the Iowa border are just complete wusses when it comes to snow. We had overnight, we had 4 inches, a little wind, 2 hours late, get your butts to school. You guys, I mean, the threat of 1 to 3 inches, you're like, shut the city down.
Well, yeah, we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches, man. They were actually buying smaller snow plows so they could get on the residential streets easier. I mean, they were pre-treating. They had those little pink racks on the street. They had gravel. They had everything. You swear you was going down a dirt road, but like Lauren here, just because he lives around Detroit, he acts like they actually get snow up there. So until you've lived through a St. Louis winter, Lauren, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Total paralysis. 2 inches of snow. We're out.
I should have posted the picture that I took out my front window and sent you guys today of the impending winter storm, just so you get an idea of what it was like. But
you showed me a picture of the lack of snow that you didn't have school today. So ridiculous. 8 to 12 inches. That's legit. See, we don't even get out of bed for 1 to 3. I mean, 4 to 6, it's an annoyance. 6 to 8, got to pay attention to it. 8 to 12, that's a good one because we're going to get wind with it too.
If we had 8 to 12 inches of snow in St. Louis,
it'd be over.
They would just shut us down and open up like in 2 weeks.
Armageddon.
It would be over with.
It'd be Snowmageddon. Snowmageddon, man.
So,
hey, Big Mike, what's up, bud?
Who's going to be the challenger this year to try to knock Birmingham off? They're going for 4 straight championships, 1 in the UFL. Of course, they won the previous 2 in the USFL. Who's the team, guys? Is it St. Louis? Is it Michigan? San Antonio brought back a lot of their roster. Arlington. Give us something.
I think that my first thoughts are San Antonio with their question mark at quarterback. I'd have to say that they're not a top threat. St. Louis, big question mark at quarterback. I'd have to say that proof has got to be in the pudding for us, so I couldn't put St. Louis in the top part.
Are you just talking about on the XFL side or just everything?
No, he's talking about anybody. I mean, I mentioned a couple shows ago, I thought the 2 best defensive lines this year were hands down Michigan and St. Louis. The quarterback room, I think it's pretty obvious that Birmingham has the advantage there. Even though Martinez is gone, Magoo is back. Did a stint in Green Bay. Matt Corral is back from last season. And then Jamar's been with the team. This will be going on all 4 years now.
Well, like Chris says here, DC with Abram Smith, Chris Rowan, and Ty Scott.
They've got some wide receivers.
I got a ton of respect for DC.
Yeah.
I actually was shocked last year that they ended up with the record that they did. But I got to believe that DC is going to bounce back. They just got too good a coaching staff.
But don't you think, Brett, and you would know this even better than me, even though, like I said, I watched every game last year. I think DC's biggest problem is up front. Don't you think?
They were so solid the previous season on that offensive line. Then Bruno gone, a couple other guys left. That was really what hampered them last year, in my opinion, was their offensive front. They were still pretty solid on defense. They had quite a few injuries last year, too. But you know how things can really snowball.
Right.
And it's the domino effect. It just kind of went from, you saw shades of that team. They were missing a couple big weapons at wide receiver, too. They had a lot of drops.
If
by
you
their wide
remember,
receiver crew last year.
if you remember last year, about midway through the season, my first ever inductee into the Eds U and the Lou Hall of Fame, the Kevin Atkins right here, the Bulldog, Fresno State guy. They brought him in about mid-season, and that was difficult to watch him playing for the enemy. But you know, Kevin Atkins, I don't know if he's going to be back with DC this year or not. I haven't heard, but I got to believe he'll be in the league somewhere.
Well, the rosters are just about set. There'll probably be a couple more changes here and there for each team, and then we'll go to camp. There's still quite a few unsigned players on each team from last season.
We got Chris talking about the offensive line, and
They did
he was
a
right.
heck of a job in Birmingham. Birmingham was very fortunate to win that game. That was the storm and lightning game that was delayed for goodness 2 hours. We finally went. We actually ended up going to Marty's house and watching the second half. We wasn't so sure they were going to start the game back. I mean, we didn't know what the procedures would be on postponing or what they were going to do. But
Losing Abram Smith last year killed their offense because
it really hurt.
Offense was all built around running the ball.
Yeah, and like I said, they had a lot of drops at wide receiver last year.
Here's another one that I think, because I know they've signed a lot of guys back, and I think I'm just looking back here. I thought I saw, I'm sure Lauren probably mentioned it. He is kind of a homer, but I do agree with him. I do think Michigan is going to be somebody to handle. I mean, Nolan is a good coach. They've got a lot of pieces back.
They got Wes Hill back healthy at running back.
Yeah, he was.
Their defensive line is loaded.
Yeah,
you could make an argument.
Solid head coach.
You could make an argument that Michigan's front four are the best in the league. Now here's the problem, and this is I think why, and you two can help me out on this. This is why I think that a lot of people do not understand and or get into spring football. Okay, stay with me here. We talk about every year, we think this team or that team or this team or this team's good here, that team's good here. But let's be honest. Last year, did we nail it?
I'll say this: every one of us was dead wrong on Memphis.
Right, but
I'm going to tell you what, we were dead wrong on Michigan too.
100%. But here's what I'm talking about. If somebody says to me, the Chicago Bears, they're my team. But you could say San Francisco. I can run you off who's going to be their dude this year, who's going to be their dude the year after that, who's going to be their dude. The thing with the UFL is you are more attached to a team than you can be players. And I think that really bothers some people. I mean, I love it. You know, I'm a Battlehawks fan. I'm not a Battlehawks homer, but I've got Akeem Butler who graduated from the same university I did, Willie Harvey, Mike Rose. Like, I've got a lot of Iowa State guys that are also on the Battlehawks. And so for me, that's a big draw to St. Louis on top of all of it. Okay. But when I look at some of the other teams, man, you can have, Houston, for example, do they even have two guys that were on their roster last year?
They got a handful, and that's about it. I mean, fortunately, a lot of the teams are bringing back their core this year. I would say probably Memphis and Houston, of course, by far, has the most turnover. So there's 20 to 30 players, I would say, on each roster that is back. You know, we've had some retire. We've had quite a few that signed future deals, quite a few that are now in the NFL. on rosters.
But can you see where I'm coming from on that? Because as a Kansas City Chiefs
A lot of
fan,
turnover.
you're saying to yourself, I mean, we got Mahomes. Okay. So we have Worthy, who had a good rookie season. He's going to be more involved. We're going to have to maybe, who knows what happens with Hopkins, and is Kelsey retired? Chris Jones, does he run it back? You have these pieces that you've rooted for years. The UFL is not necessarily like that. You see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily so. It is player driven, but as a Battlehawks fan, I don't get attached to players. Like, was McCarron a good quarterback for us? Yeah, but I'm not attached to the fact that he's not there this year. I think Max Duggan has a really good opportunity to come in. I watched him at TCU. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback, and he's going to give us something that we didn't have last year, and that's the quarterback that get out in space and actually punish guys.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I just think that's why people look at spring football. Maybe they don't get as attached to it, or they don't like it because, they want to say, okay, we're talking about second tier guys or whatever. But at the same time, it's really good football. So do you think I'm
It's
off
really
on
good
that?
football, and I'm sorry, scouts don't always get it right. And then, once they get 28, 29, 30, they're passed over when they probably still have the ability and should be on an NFL roster. They just move on to a younger guy.
But do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm wrong with that evaluation?
But I would say last year, Birmingham on the USFL side was definitely a 1, but Michigan was a 1A. They weren't too far. They weren't too far away. But you look on the XFL side, 2 years ago, it was Arlington and DC in the championship game. Last year, DC goes from being in the championship game to coming in last in the division. I'm not last. They were Arlington and DC, who was in the championship 2 years ago. They were in the bottom of the league last year on the XFL side, and St. Louis and San Antonio jumped up to the top. But again, with the players realizing their dreams to get back to the NFL, with the influx and outflow of players, I think one of the draws of the UFL is that from one season to the next, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we come out with our way too early power rankings that Brett put out. But really, we have no idea until they start playing the games how it's going to happen. And when you look at DC, Arlington, San Antonio, St. Louis, try putting them in order right now in the XFL.
And the thing of it is, how do you even grade Memphis and Houston right now?
Well, I think Houston will be better, and I do think Memphis will be considerably better. I think fortunately, there was a couple of things that were going against the league last year. It was rushed big time because of the merger. The deal was done 6 weeks before kickoff or whatever. It was bam, bam, bam. So there's no marketing, no advertising, nothing we're seeing right now. No gift giveaways, no theme nights, none of that stuff. And now, we've got a full season under our belt. So a lot of people say, hey, there's something to this league. They're sticking around. And I think that will help tremendously as well. And I see so much more traffic on Facebook and X right now about UFL and regular just college football pages and NFL pages that are pretty much centric to those leagues posting, hey, are you guys interested in watching the UFL this year? Are you going to watch, you didn't see any of that last year or the year before. But I think we're going to get a lot of parity this year. Last year we thought we were going to get it and the league was pretty top heavy. But because some of these games in week 9 and week 10, they'll still be fighting for a playoff spot this upcoming season.
But don't you think with the majority of people that it's the name recognition that the UFL lacks for some people? Let's face it. Your general average run-of-the-mill NFL fan they're watching Patrick Mahomes, they're watching Tom Brady, they're watching, whoever.
Right.
But when they turn on a UFL game, there's a better than outside chance the average NFL fan, if you want to call them that, does not recognize one single solitary name that comes across.
Well, if they're not a college fan, if they're pretty much just NFL, that's a good shot. Name recognition is probably an issue with the league, but there again, so many people that are football fans and have been football fans for 20, 30, 40 years are so used to these leagues just being a pop-up league, and then all of a sudden they fail in the middle of the season, or they can't even finish the season, or they're one and done. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I spend probably too much time on social media with the bottom line, but I see the action and activity myself that has really got me pumped up about the upcoming season. I think people will be very impressed about viewership this upcoming season. I don't know about attendance with the current economy and the cost of everything. Don't want to get into all that. Rumors that they think attendance might be down moving forward, but I can assure you viewership will be up. And I wouldn't doubt, guys, the viewership's not up 25 to 50% this year, and that will absolutely give the league staying power. To touch on your subject, Eric, on the name recognition, I do think that is somewhat a problem. And I think one way to combat that, and me and Bill Alexander and so many of us has talked to the league and mentioned this to the league. And I know for a fact the league has kicked this idea around. I don't know where they're at on it right now. I don't know if things will change moving forward to season 3, or if we might have a little regional draft coming up. I don't think so. But a regional draft, as much as I love the Birmingham quarterback room with the 3 getting names I've mentioned, and I think from top to bottom it's probably the deepest in the league, moving forward it would make a lot of sense for someone like Matt Corral to be playing in Memphis. Hour and a half or 2 hours to Oxford where he played his college ball, and A.J. McCarron to be playing in Birmingham. That's some things I really feel like the league, and I even mentioned it to Moose at an event last season. You don't have to have a full regional draft, because I know some people say, well, that might not be fair with some of the SEC schools being here or the Big Ten schools being there, centric to Michigan, but just a partial regional draft to where you recognize 3 or 5 guys that played at your school or your rival school. I think that would make a heck of a difference with actual attendance.
Well, and it made a difference. It made a difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Chris makes a good point too, though, where he says, "Here, get players on these shows.
No, I mean,
get players on these podcasts, and you're going to see more name recognition." But
get to know the guys, right?
But Chris, as much as we agree with you 100%, that's something that the league has to agree to and has to make players available, because up until this point, they haven't been the best at making players accessible. So, as they improve on their marketing, you're perfectly right. Accessibility to players and coaches would be huge in recognition.
I mean, for us, for guys like us that are, big fans of the UFL, it's irrelevant to us. But right. I'm talking about, I have friends that are huge football fans. They follow college, they follow the NFL. And the second you bring up UFL, they're just like, what? I mean, I've got guys that graduated from Iowa State, and I'm like, man, the Battlehawks, we got Willie Harvey, Mike Rose, Hakeem Butler, and they're just like, so, yeah, I mean, it's just like, it just doesn't compute. How do you get past that?
It's just going to take time, because if you're a true football fan and a football addict, I'm not saying you got to watch every game, all 43 games, whatever it is right now. It's name recognition, guys. People remember the XFL. XFL 2020 popped. I don't look. I hope the UFL's here long after I'm dead and gone, because I love spring football. It's the purest form of football now. I've seen that many person has said that. But XFL, because of COVID or whatever, failed. USFL came back, and the XFL came back. UFL's only been around. When was the merger? January of last year? The UFL's been around 13 months.
Right.
Soccer now, the MLS is a big deal. It's a big thing. Guys, that's been around 20, 25 years. They did not get where they're at today overnight. So I feel like you're going to have some of those people, like Chad, for instance, our co-host. He's one of those guys. Will he come around? Very possibly. But there's some that are just, it's going to take a long time. And some, like I see, we know it was a problem last year, but I'm telling y'all, the league is growing a heck of a social media platform. And I think we're going to see, the results of that every week when we release the viewership numbers. I can't wait to see this year's viewership numbers. And let's face it, we did a lot better. I think 25 or 30% better than what the league anticipated last year with viewership. And the playoffs were decided after week 8. A couple of them after week 7. We did not have the kind of parity we were hoping for. And I think we get something like that this year. I mean, you could be looking at 1.5, 2.0 million average for some of these regular season games this year, which since, XFL 2020 has been unheard of.
I just think the
More
access,
sponsorship, more dollars,
right. I just think the access to the game, the transparency of it,
Right.
all of those things I love about it, whether I had a team or not.
Right.
And then, having a team with, and the drones, like I love the drones. There's shots they had with the drone last year that were phenomenal.
That one play was St. Louis and Birmingham, not to bring it up. On that score by Birmingham, I was in the stands and I'm like, hell, look at the drone. I thought the drone was going to distract the player, and I was scared he was going to fumble the ball. The drone was right here.
Oh, yeah.
If I would have been that player, I would have, I probably would have fumbled. I'm like, maybe he got a little close on that one, but
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I just think people are
you want
missing
good, quality, hard-hitting football with transparency. UFL's your game. I've seen some guys on these highlights the leagues have posted in the last 2 weeks that the league has posted. See comments, wow, they actually let them hit in the UFL. Wow, that would have been appealing in the NFL. Yeah, the UFL, spring football is pretty fun, guys. They worry about the player safety, but our guys aren't running around out there with flags around their waist either.
No, that's correct. And like I said, it really is. And it's not, the NFL has tried to come out of their shell a little bit, but was always the no fun league for a long time. The UFL is the ultimate fun league. The ultimate fun league.
Speaking of the no fun league, it's about time to turn the page. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, it's going to be time to talk about that game that we just saw just a few days ago. Courtesy of the UFL, we will be right back.
The best of the best is coming together. There's no more what ifs. We're all one league now.
Ready to shut it off. I'm number one in the building.
There's no more talk. Put up or shut up. We'll see who the top dogs is now.
Strap it up and line it up.
Joining forces means more power.
Delirium in D.C.
More potential. More reach.
Unbelievable.
Look for a chance to play ball, man. Chance to show that you still got it.
The hunger is unreal.
Helmet goes on. Nothing else in the world matters.
Tell them I'm ready. Whenever they walk is I'm ready.
A league that pushes the envelope and opens the door to living the dream.
I've been an underdog my whole career.
Football is kind of my last resort. If I could just get this one little break.
Brace your moment, man. This is as fun as it gets right here.
United, they stand to stake a claim to springtime for America's favorite game. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
You know we ready. Yes, sir. Ready to run it back.
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
For a new era,
Let's go.
new challenges,
Best in the nation.
a new beginning.
The time is now.
Line it up, Playboy. Let's do it.
I can't wait to see you guys play.
Are you ready?
This is the United Football League.
Just don't blink.
This is more than a game. It's passion that fuels us. The action.
My goodness.
The excitement. The pride.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
Where stars emerge.
He got smoked.
Where legacies begin.
You're feeling awfully confident right now.
Where the future of football is taken to new heights.
Touchdown. Bam. He got whacked.
Get ready.
Just bad intentions. Wow.
For more football this spring.
Playing with some swagger.
A new UFL season kicks off on March 28th.
The only
And
thing
you fellas sure we want to stop talking about the UFL? Just asking.
well, we can answer this one last question.
Yep, I
What
got
do
it
you
right
think
here.
the Panthers official fan group should be called? I don't know. I would say it's got to have something to do. It's got to have Prowl in it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Panther Prowl or something.
I got an idea. It
How about
probably
the-
won't pass the G rating. How about F around and find out with a Panther claw? You know, go
Yeah, it probably won't work.
probably won't pass the.
How about the man, I'm thinking something Prowlers. Panther Prowl.
You know, maybe they ought to.
Panther Pride on the Prowl or so. I don't know.
Yeah, I was fixing to say, you know, Lauren's got a heck of a name there with that Panther Pride. Maybe he needs to reach out to the league and say, hey, I've already got a podcast and everything. Put me in charge of the Booster Club. Him and Jesse and Palco can help out. That's what Michigan needs.
Okay, so
a group of Panthers is called a Claw.
It's also called
Maybe.
a Pride, is it not?
No, that's Lions.
how about claw your way? Claw your
No.
way out.
No.
No, that was dumb. That was dumb, Ed. That was real dumb.
Well,
Ed.
I mean, I already said the ones that are going to win. So, I mean, now I'm just reading.
Yeah. You could do the Claw, have the Panther behind it.
So before we talk about the snoozer of the Super Bowl,
oh man,
I thought I'd do the little ticker at the bottom about about me being number 69 in your program, but number 1 in your heart.
Oh my God!
Your host won season 2 of the college NFL. 217 games later, the other 3 crew members couldn't quite
watch it, Ed.
Couldn't quite hang.
If I just wouldn't have taken so many chances at the end.
Oh yeah, blah blah blah.
Right
You're right on that, Eric. If I just would have not picked against Kansas City all year and for the Jets, I would have been right up there with y'all. But Eric's right; he took some chances there at the end. But look, Ed, I'll give Ed credit. I'll give Ed all the credit in the world. Ed, from pretty much whistle to whistle, from post to post, was in front for the majority of the season. He did a great job.
Pretty much.
Chad led for a while.
And
Chad led the first. Chad was in his own. You couldn't stop him. You could only hope to contain him the first 3-4 weeks.
One time, I was 8 games out of first place and made a roaring comeback.
But you fell off short, didn't you?
Well, I was only 1 game behind.
The big dog, who represents Kevin Atkins of Fresno State, is going to remain right here where it belongs for at least another year.
When I win the UFL season, I want the fans, I want someone to pitch in and get me a championship UFL belt, and I will hang it up in my new office.
Why don't I have one of those? How come I don't have a championship belt or anything? I mean,
because that was a mulligan. That was a mulligan.
Yours is tainted. That's why. So anyway, So Sunday I was invited to a Super Bowl party, which ended up being about 25 Kansas City Chief fans. Mama Bear and myself were the only neutral fans at the game. And I will tell you that by halftime, at least half of them were suicidal. So, I mean, there's a lot of discussion we can get into about 23 total yards of offense by Kansas City at halftime.
Philadelphia had more penalty yards than the Chiefs had total yards. Cooper DeJean had more return yards on the interception than Kansas City had in the first half.
Kansas City had 38 yards of total offense with just a few minutes left in the third quarter. And by the way, had not even crossed midfield yet.
No.
So when you look at the first half, when Cooper DeJean intercepted that ball and did a pick six, followed closely by another interception just before halftime that turned into another touchdown.
Yeah, Bond had that interception that about the 13.
That game was pretty much a wrap heading in to halftime.
But I'll ask you this question, Ed. Even at 24-0 at halftime, Eagles had totally dominated. Didn't you still, in my mind, I still thought somehow Kansas City is going to make this close.
Right.
I did not. I did not. And I'll tell you why. Because the offensive line was given Patrick Mahomes 0 time to throw. And even when he was able to get the ball off, you had DeAndre Hopkins that right before halftime, if he catches that ball, there ain't anybody within 15 yards of him. He walks into the end zone. And to just, I mean, how do you drop that ball? I mean, I don't. There just was nothing on the Kansas City side of the ball. There was nothing that gave you any reason to think.
But right. No, I agree with you. But this is when it changed for me. So I thought, okay, halftime, it's 24-0. I'm thinking Kansas City's going to make some adjustments, maybe change the blocking scheme up front, whatever it takes to do that. If they come out, they score a touchdown right away. That makes it 24-7. And then maybe get a stop on defense, come back and put some more points on the board, 24-10, 24-14. That's what I believed had to happen. Had to. They had to put points on the board on their first 2 possessions. Do you know when I knew it was over for sure? Like I knew this game was never that the Kansas City was never coming back. The fight was gone. Put your tail between your legs. The 3-peat, the dynasty, everything is over. You know when I knew? When they came out of half and went 3 and out. That's when I knew. And as you alluded to, the front 4 of that Eagles defense absolutely dominated the offensive line of Kansas City. They showed a play. They ran Worthy. Worthy was in the backfield, offset to the left. He came to the right of Mahomes, and then he ran a wheel route, and they had it set up perfectly because they were using that the shell coverage over the top, cover 4. The outside receiver cut in, the corner goes with him, and they ran a wheel route with Worthy. Guess whose responsibility he was? Number 53 ball and come out. He had him beat. It would have been a touchdown. But guess what? Mahomes plants that back foot and he is running for his life. So the play design was perfect. You got what you wanted. You got Worthy alone with a linebacker going up the sideline on a wheel route. He had 2-3 steps on him. No ability to deliver the ball to him because Mahomes is under fire the entire time.
But the Kansas City.
Why?
But Kansas City's defense worked according to plan. If I would have told you before that game started that Barkley was going to have 25 carries for 57 yards and no touchdowns, what would you have told? Who would you have told me was going to win that game?
Oh, it would have been Kansas City, but the thing that I saw a stat, and I know we're going to talk about Mahomes in a little bit, but I saw this stat. Do you know how many interceptions Joe Montana threw in Super Bowl games? 4 of them, right? You know how many interceptions he threw? By any chance, Ed?
How many interceptions who threw?
Joe Montana threw in his 4 Super Bowl games.
I would say probably, Smoking Joe was what, 4-0 in Super Bowls? He probably threw 0.
0. You know how many interceptions Mahomes has thrown in 5 Super Bowls?
I would say probably 8 to 10.
7.
Pretty close.
In his 2 Super Bowl losses, and I would argue that this might be, and I'm sure there's other there's guys can make other arguments in direction. I would say this is the worst performance by a quarterback in a Super Bowl since I can remember.
So
that'd be my thought.
Yeah, so let's put this up then, because that brings us to this conversation, and I'll take this down. I would, as we was talking before the show, the media, you watch any sports show last week before the Super Bowl, they were building up Patrick Mahomes, that he was going to be the GOAT. Didn't matter that Tom Brady had 7 Super Bowls, was 7-3. Didn't matter. Patrick Mahomes, if he was able to three-peat and get his 4th Super Bowl, that he was going to surpass Tom Brady and he was going to be the undisputed GOAT because nobody else had been able to three-peat. But yet, after the performance that you're talking about, where that's the second time now that Patrick Mahomes has not only lost a Super Bowl, but he's lost it bad.
I agree.
He lost to Tom Brady when Tom Brady was with the Buccaneers. They lost that game by, what was that? That was 18 points?
I believe so.
No, it was 22 points. They lost 31-9. And then this game ended up 40-22, but it just as well have been 40-0 because
40-6.
They scored
40-6
were nothing burgers. So here's what I'm saying. You definitely have to put the GOAT talk now to rest because he's 3-2 in Super Bowls versus 7-3 for Tom Brady. But Tom Brady lost his 3 Super Bowls by a combined 15 points total for all 3 that he lost.
And I believe 2 of those he walked off the field with the lead.
And Mahomes has lost his 2 Super Bowls by 40, and it just as well have been 50 or 60.
100%.
Because there was garbage time points the other night that even made the game as close as it was. So, but, so I would say right now that Patrick Mahomes is completely off the table for being the GOAT quarterback. He's got a lot of, face it, he's got a lot of Super Bowls he's got to win before we can have this discussion again, because the losses that he's put up in the Super Bowl when the light shines the brightest has been bad.
Unforgivable.
So as a media, though, when, you know, we're not media guys, even though we'd like to think we are with podcasts, but the official media guys that love to build people up just so they can tear them down.
Right.
They spent the whole week before the Super Bowl talking about how Patrick Mahomes was basically a shoe-in for the GOAT. And then this week, a lot of the shows have just, the same ones that were touting him as the heir apparent GOAT, have completely tore him apart and basically said, we don't even want to talk about the discussion of a GOAT, when just a week ago they were the ones that's all they wanted to talk about.
I would argue, and you're correct about that. I would argue that Mahomes is not even in the top two. Brady is clearly number one. Not only does he have 7 Super Bowls, but he won Super Bowls with 2 teams. That I would even argue, you could even argue that winning Super Bowls with 2 different teams puts quarterbacks in another class. So you could even make an argument that even though Peyton Manning did not have as dominant of a string as maybe Patrick Mahomes had, you can make an argument that Peyton Manning may even be ahead of him.
Peyton Manning he was unlucky in the fact that he had to go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady.
Every single
Tom
year.
Brady, whether it was a better quality team or he was just a little bit better than Peyton, Peyton was unlucky in the fact that he was in the same era as Tom Brady.
100%.
If you put Peyton Manning in his prime right now with no Tom Brady,
what
would that mean? What would we?
What would that look like? We'd be talking about the Indianapolis Colts. That's what we'd be talking about.
Could you put, as everybody would like to be throwing Lamar Jackson out there as a potential top 2 or 3 quarterback right now? If Peyton Manning was in today's NFL, do you think that as a team they would be outperforming Baltimore? Because I could argue that Lamar Jackson, again, when the lights shine in the brightest, he comes up the smallest I
would argue, I think I can make a pretty good argument that if Peyton Manning was like in his prime today, and he was with the Colts, you could make an argument that, well, let's just say from 2000, let's just say that Peyton Manning was a rookie in 2000 and was it 17 or 18 when Mahomes came into the league? 18?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So let's say Peyton Manning becomes a rookie that year. Are we talking about Mahomes being better than Peyton Manning if that's how we line it up? I don't think so.
Well,
I think Peyton Manning in his prime would have been a huge stopper. He just had the unfortunate luck of being not quite that much better than Tom Brady when it came down to the nuts and bolts of it. Now, you could argue that, Tom Brady had Bill Belichick or Bill Belichick had Tom Brady, and maybe Peyton Manning didn't quite have the coaching, whatever. I'm not saying he didn't, but I mean, you can make all sorts of arguments as to why things didn't happen. But I'm telling you right now, Peyton Manning, if he did not come during Tom Brady's era, it wouldn't even be the same. Wouldn't even be the same.
So let's talk about this then. So it kind of rolls this right over into the next. As I got to watch, and as I got to thinking about the Super Bowl this last week, they're coming out with way too early power rankings for next season, and they've already got Kansas City as a favorite to make it to the Super Bowl again for the AFC. And I'm thinking to myself, the Kansas City dynasty has been eroded over the course of the last couple of years because, Tyreek Hill, you can just go player to player to player, that they're just, the quality of the supporting cast has kind of started to dwindle. That if you really look at that Super Bowl and you look at just how dominating Philadelphia was, and you look at the road that Philadelphia had to go through to make it to the Super Bowl with the Rams, the game they had with the Rams, the up and coming Washington Commanders. Now, they didn't do so good in the playoffs against them, but if you look at the NFC is stacked.
100%.
And so as a Viking fan, that makes me wish the Vikings were in the AFC because I look at the quality of Kansas City, and granted, they won the AFC, made it to the Super Bowl. You can't take that away from them. But when you look at the road that it takes Kansas City to make it to the Super Bowl every season, compared to the road in the NFC is a gauntlet.
Now, let me put this to you. If you go back to Tom Brady, who is Tom Brady competing with every year in the division to get to the playoffs? Miami,
the Jets,
Raiders,
the
Jets. Well, I'm just talking about in division. It's who's in their division? It's not Miami. The Raiders,
Miami,
Denver, the Raiders. I got the Raiders, Denver, and the Chargers.
Oh, you're talking about Kansas City, yeah.
Okay. So that's who Kansas City's been in. Now, in Tom Brady's era, Miami. What's Miami been during Tom Brady's era?
In Tom Brady's era, they had 6 wins before the games even started because their division was that bad.
The Jets, I mean, they've been gangrene for a long time. And who am I missing?
Buffalo.
Okay. Now, during Tom Brady's time, there was no Jared Allen or Josh Allen. So, no Josh Allen. Tom Brady had a cakewalk division-wise to get to the playoffs. So for the Patriots to always be in the mix, there was always that opportunity for the Patriots to always be in the mix. So if you take a Minnesota, for example, Minnesota always has to contend with Green Bay. And now they have to contend with the Lions. And as Bears fans, we're hoping they have to contend with Chicago all in the same division. Now at Philadelphia has to contend with Washington. And it looks like Washington's not going anywhere anytime soon. So when you see what Tom Brady was always, you could pencil the Patriots into the playoffs.
AFC
so they were
championship was a given every year.
Almost a given every year. Well, realistically, how has it been for Kansas City? Raiders, Chargers, Denver
Yeah.
have not been good for a long time. So you could pencil Kansas City in for the last 5 or 6 years. Just put them in the playoffs and put them in the AFC Championship because
now
they're gonna have the easiest road, and then Baltimore and Buffalo and those other AFC teams are gonna have to fight it out just to get to the AFC Championship. Now we got to get up for one game to get the Super Bowl. Well, realistically, that was the Tom Brady avenue all the way through. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and now though you've got the Denver is definitely up and coming. The LA Chargers are definitely up and coming.
So you're right, Brett. Here's now what I'm talking about. We were talking about the decline a little bit before you came back on. It's clear that Travis Kelce, ouch.
He's done.
It's clear that I think Worthy's going to be a good receiver, but they need some help that way. They need some offensive line help.
is going to be out. I don't see
Yeah,
them bringing him
they
back.
need some help offensive line wise. The defense, I mean, really got exposed by Buffalo, and then really got hammered by Philadelphia. But now, who is Kansas City dealing with? They're dealing with Pete Carroll in LA or in Las Vegas. Pete Carroll's like 72 or 3 years old. Do you think he's into a rebuild? No. The Raiders are going to be looking to win now with a guy like Pete Carroll. He's going to come in there. He's going to change the culture. They're going to be looking to win now.
Plus, you have Tom Brady there that's going to be.
Yep, he's been there, done that.
They're going to have free agent signings.
You've got Denver. Bo Nix showed some serious promise, and you have Sean Payton in Denver. They're not going away.
Yeah.
The fact Denver did what they did behind the 8 ball with the salary cap and eating Russell Wilson's contract and all, amazing. It's only going to get better once they get past all that money. And then LA Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. Look at the roster that got completely depleted, at least we thought at the beginning of the year, and what Jim Harbaugh was able to do with the roster they had this year.
Yeah.
That's only going to get better. You are talking about a division that arguably, well, maybe not even arguably, has the 4 best coaches, top to bottom, just in one division.
But as we talk about the subject of Eagles, the next dynasty, Philadelphia got a lot younger, and they struck gold on all their draft picks. I mean, so they've got to contend with an up and coming Washington.
That's what I'm
they've
saying.
got Detroit and Minnesota and Green Bay and Tampa Bay.
And who knows who else?
Is there any reason to believe that Eagles aren't a legit potential dynasty?
Here's Brett, go ahead. I don't want to take up all the time. Brett, if you have something, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hate to toot my own horn. I obviously can't pick games, but someone mentioned this before the season, how loaded from top to bottom they were. And I'm talking about, I mentioned it. We mentioned it. We talked about it. I mean, all their draft picks are free agency pickups. I mean, they were so much more talented than really any other team this year. You got to give their GM credit. Like Ed just said, man, go through their last 2 or 3 drafts. I mean, look, they got Brown in free agency. I mean, they are absolute. They're young. They're loaded. They are set up for the future. But again, I feel like you guys, the NFC is going to be tough the next few years.
That's the biggest problem. I think, and you could disagree, I think the Eagles Super Bowl window dynasty window is 2 years. I'll tell you why. As much success as Saquon Barkley had this year, how many years does he have left? On average, he's got maybe 2 solid years left.
Right.
Now, he could surprise us and be one of those generational running backs that, holy crap, at 34, he's still doing the job. I'm just saying, Saquon, as far as tread on the tires, has about 2 years left on average. Could be wrong. Okay. I don't think we would argue that Saquon was a huge part of that offense. And I don't think any one of us would argue that if we had to take our choice, Saquon running the ball or Jalen Hurts throwing the ball most of the year, that us three would take Saquon running the ball.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a huge piece right there that I say 2 years. If Saquon is able to prove that he can go more than 2 years, then I'm going to say 3 or 4, because now these young guys, contracts start coming up. Free agency starts coming up here, there. Money has to be signed to Quinyon Mitchell. Money has to be signed to Cooper DeJean. Now all of a sudden we can't afford,
Devontae Smith.
Yes, there's the whole host of them. But you got, to me, depending on Saquon Barkley, they have a 2 to 3, 4 year window here that is wide open, where they honestly, I believe they could, even though I believe the NFC is stacked with more potential teams. Because here's the deal. Could we be surprised next year? Absolutely. But guess what? It's probably going to be Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore. Those are the 3 teams we're going to hear at the beginning of the year.
The difference is on the NFC side of things. Again, I'll go back to the Super Bowl. If I would have told you before the Super Bowl started, Barkley was going to be 25 carries for 57 yards and no touchdowns.
Oh, I'd have been Kansas
Would
City.
you have taken
by
Kansas
20.
City?
Okay? Oh,
Okay?
yeah. No question.
They were not. You got to give Kansas City credit. They were not going to let Barkley beat them,
Right.
and they did not.
Philadelphia was able to show a side of their offense that they hadn't shown for most of the year, and the fact that, okay, you take Barkley away, we're going to burn you on the pass. And that's exactly what they did. So if Jalen Hurts becomes the quarterback that, like he said to his coach, take the straitjacket off of me and let me play some quarterback, if they are able to become a passing team as well as Barkley, well, then you got the two-headed monster that pick your poison.
But Ed, this is what I'm getting at here. Do you know what Hurts's numbers were?
I can't remember.
If I told you Saquon Barkley's going to rush for, what did he rush for?
57
yards. He averaged a little bit over 2 yards a carry. And Hurts is only going to throw for 220 yards. What would you say?
Yeah, but there's the piece that you leave out that Jalen Hurts brings to the table. He also had 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown.
That I get that. That is the piece. But if you say that Barkley only rushes for 57 yards, most people are going to say he's going to have to throw for 303 touchdowns. That's what I would have said. If Barkley can't get it to go on the ground, he's really going to have to do it with his arm.
But that's truly where the type of quarterback that Jalen Hurts is, that Jalen Daniels is, that's where that type of quarterback becomes so valuable. Because you want to take Barkley out of the game, go ahead. But if you're going to take Barkley out of the game and you're going to let Jalen Hurts run around the other side and get 72 yards and a touchdown, it don't matter.
I think we're missing the point here on Philadelphia's potential. Let me throw this out there. Their dynasty or potential dynasty that we're talking about, typically that's quarterback centric. We've talked about that. The Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes. Philadelphia has built this team originally around both lines of scrimmage. Both line, the defensive line and offensive line. And even though, we've got the spread offenses now, and everybody likes to see people sling it 40 times a game and 450 yards passing, fellas, this is still a line of scrimmage game. And that's exactly how Philadelphia manhandled Kansas City, because Carter and his posse was in Patrick's face all night and would not let him set his feet or have a clear window to throw the ball. And what they sack him 6 times, and they got some good licks on him.
They stayed disciplined.
The ball, their offensive line averages what, 6'6", 335 across the board.
Yeah. So this team, again, I forgot to mention, of course, they got Brown in free agency. They got Saquon Barkley in free agency. And then go back at their last probably 3 drafts now. The only other team that has competed with Philadelphia with that much success in the draft was Detroit. And I still think Detroit would have gave Philadelphia a run if they were healthy. I think it was Philadelphia's championship to lose. It'll be interesting to see what Detroit is next year with all the new coaching and coordinators. But again, fellas, it's line of scrimmage. Go back to Dallas Cowboys and Troy Aikman. What's the common theme there? Dallas had the best offensive line year in, year out during that run with the Cowboys. Game still won on the line of scrimmage.
Oh, 100%. I think that if Philadelphia is going to become the dynasty that we're talking about, all Jalen Hurts has to do is not make the mistakes that Patrick Mahomes made in that Super Bowl. If you take away those 2 turnovers, the 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown, 1 at the 13, that's basically a touchdown. You take 14 points off of there. Kansas City's defense holds Philly to 26 points. Now, you say to yourself, okay, 26 points. What did I say before Super Bowl? I said if Philadelphia can get to 27, I think they win. Obviously, they blew through that. But if it wasn't for Mahomes and Kansas City making all those mistakes and the defense taking advantage of it.
But you also look, though, what did Kansas City's offense do?
Nothing.
The final score was 40-22, and you can say, oh man, if we could have just held them to 27 points.
Right.
Kansas City only scored 22 points because there was a nothing burger garbage time
100%.
game in the 4th quarter.
It was 40-6 at one point in that game.
Kansas City wouldn't have scored 10 points if the game would have been a true close game the whole way.
No, you're correct. But what I'm saying is, it wasn't anything that Jalen Hurts, I believe, necessarily did or didn't do. He just refused to make that mistake. I believe, honest to God, I believe the only mistake that Jalen Hurts made was that interception where he kind of threw it off the back of his, off his back foot, and he kind of threw it up for grabs. I don't know if he got hit a little bit on the arm or whatever, but outside of that, show me where you were like, ooh, Hurts really screwed up there. I think that if the Eagles are the next dynasty, that if Hurts puts into his mind, listen, it's about the defense. I'm going to go out there. I don't have to be a game manager, but I'm not going to make the stupid plays. I'm not going to have an out-of-body experience in this game thinking I'm the man. I'm just going to do what I need to do. And I do think Philadelphia has that opportunity in the next 2, maybe 3 years. I really do.
Well,
we could easily be talking about the Eagles in 3 years like we're talking about Kansas City now.
I think you may be a little guilty of a lot of people in the fact that still Jalen Hurts, I don't think is getting the credit he deserves. I think that Kansas City said, "Okay, Jalen, we're taking Barkley away from you. You beat us," and he beat him.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that I'm not giving Jalen
Throw
credit,
out that
but
one mistake early in the game, and overall, Jalen had a hell of a game. I mean, he really did. And I love Jalen being, he played at Alabama and all that, and he's a great kid. Coach's son again. And I'm so happy for him because he has been through so much with his career and so many doubters. And look, I wanted him benched at Alabama for Tua. We were all guilty of it, and Tua bailed us out. But then the next year, Jalen bailed us out. And Jalen's been through a ton. But I hope the Eagles are not the next dynasty. It would be great for the league in general if we have 7 or 8 different winners the next few years. And I think with possibly and this sounds silly, what Chicago's building, what's going on with the AFC West, what's actually going on with the NFC currently, there could be 10, 12 legitimate contenders in the next 2 years. So,
Well, my thought is this. This is why, Philadelphia Super Bowl champion. No arguing that. Jalen Hurts, if I told you this, your Super Bowl winning quarterback's season is going to look like this.
Yeah.
3,500 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Is there anything eye-popping about that?
It's pretty damn strong, but it's not,
it's not eye-popping. It's solid. What I'm saying is, for the Eagles to become, in my opinion, for the Eagles to become the next dynasty, that's what Hurts has to be. Strong. He doesn't have to be eye-popping.
Right.
I believe if he accepts that, I don't see any reason why Saquon would be wrong saying we could win 3 in a row.
Yeah, look, that team is so talented. Jalen don't have to be Superman, like you said.
No, and that's what I'm saying. But if he believes that all of a sudden he needs to be, if all of a sudden A.J. Brown is like, bro, give me the ball, whatever it is, then that's not who Philadelphia, this is, and Ed, tell me if I'm wrong. Philadelphia is a defensive team that can bludgeon you on offense.
So if you say that, is Hurts, like I've got on the screen, is Hurts a top 5 quarterback?
No, let's just be honest about that. And again, he don't have to be.
No,
he's not. He had a hell, and grant you, he had a hell of a game. He had a good season, but he don't have to be Josh Allen. He don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He don't have to be that player.
No. And the thing about it is, and here's the argument you can make. If we're going to put Patrick Mahomes, and I have Patrick Mahomes at 3, because I have him behind Tom Brady and Joe Montana.
Did y'all look? Do you remember what kind of season overall he had? Did you pull his stats up? I got a feeling they're not nearly as good as they've been the previous few years. Mahomes didn't ever seem like himself this year, did he?
Well, but I think there's a lot of things that probably went into that. I mean, if you look at his regular season, about 4,000 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Wasn't great. Not at all.
So,
but I will tell you this. When it comes to Hurts, he's played in 2 Super Bowls. Okay. And he was drafted when, Brett? Give me the exact year,
Oh, God, I can't remember. It's late.
He was a second rounder, right?
Was a second rounder?
I think he was a second
Would have been 2010 2020 or 2021? 2020.
I want to say 2020 or 2021. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it's 2020.
Yeah, but anyway, he's had 2 Super Bowl appearances. He's 1-1. Tell me where Jalen Hurts has failed in a Super Bowl. Because if you remember that 38-35 loss to Kansas City 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts was a dude in that game.
Well,
and they probably could have won the game.
He outperformed Mahomes in that game.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, he did.
Mahomes has lined up with Hurts twice in the Super Bowl and been outperformed. He got outperformed in the first one, but Kansas City won. Okay.
All right.
He got dog stomped in this one. So, I mean, you could make an argument that maybe you don't see him as a top 5 quarterback overall, but when it comes to big games,
big game player,
maybe he is. I don't know.
So where does Kansas City go from here? Is the dynasty over?
The dynasty's over. The dynasty is over, I believe. What do you think, Brett? Is the dynasty over?
Well, Buffalo again is like, I still say Baltimore outplayed Buffalo in that game and should have won it. But Buffalo gave Kansas City everything they wanted again. Kansas City's by far got probably the best head coach, play caller, and then Spagnuolo's fantastic defensive coordinator. But again, like you said, they're they had a tight end nobody could cover. That's over with. Kelsey's washed. I would be surprised if he don't hang it up. And if he does come back next year, he's a shell of himself. They don't have a little speed demon everything like they had in Tyreek. The defense is a year older. I mean, Chris Jones can only carry them so far. I don't know, again, if Denver and goodness, I can't even think straight right now. If Denver and Houston or the Chargers are going to be ready yet, roster-wise.
Thanks, Mike. You said Jalen Hurts was drafted in the 2nd round, pick number 53.
Yeah, that would probably be right. Late in the 2nd round. Late.
So you look at the wide receivers for Kansas City. They got some work to do. I mean, Xavier Worthy is here to stay. He's definitely a talent. But DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown did a pretty decent job. Juju doesn't scare anybody.
No.
What are they going to do at tight end? Kelsey had an okay year, but he doesn't have any real speed. And I think if you put him next to Bowers, you put him next to the tight end from Arizona.
Yeah.
He's definitely taken a back seat. So I think Kansas City's got some real moves that they got to make if they want to continue to make another run at it.
Guys, we always talk about this window like we did with Detroit. Now they've lost two years of this window when guys start getting old and you have to let some guys go because you can't give them all max contracts. As Kansas City's window closed, they looked old, did they not?
Well,
they looked old Sunday.
On the offensive side of the ball, I would agree with you. But if I ask you this question, how many years did Tom Brady go without winning a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots?
Oh, there was quite a few years.
What was his biggest gap?
2 years, 3 years, 3 years.
3 years? Okay, 3 years. What's your answer, Ed? What was the biggest gap?
He played in the 02, 04, 05, 08, and then he didn't get back till 2012. Then he was back there in 15 and 17, 18, 19, and 21. So his biggest gap was between 05 and 12, where he only played in one Super Bowl in a 7-year stretch.
Okay. And what was the biggest gap that he had from winning a Super Bowl? 8 seasons. 8 seasons between Super Bowl victories. So I know we look back on Tom Brady's career and think, Jesus, they were in the Super Bowl every year. That's not correct. So to assume that Kansas City is just going to be right back there and we're just going to, first of all, Andy Reid is not a spring chicken.
No.
He's not. So what does their actual, with this whooping that they took, and it was a whooping, what does that do? I mean, if Travis Kelce cannot look at the tape and say, man, I'm a shell of what I used to be.
I'm pulling a plow.
If he can't look at that tape, yeah. I mean,
he looked bad during the game and after the game.
Well, Mike makes a good point here, and I forgot, Rashee Rice is on my fantasy team, and he went out about midseason and was, he'll be back next year. So, they do have that. So Rice and Worthy will be a good tandem, that's for sure.
Historically, probably 80% of the time when a team loses the Super Bowl, they really struggle the following season. Sometimes they squeak into the playoffs, but a lot of times they do not. I'm not necessarily saying that Kansas City is in that spot, but go back and look the last 25 years at teams that have lost the Super Bowl. Their next season is usually kind of tough on them.
And also, I think a little bit of the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs mystique is lost with a beating like this in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a total absolute woodshed job. It really, that was the worst Super Bowl I can remember since San Francisco and the Chargers, or San Francisco and Denver in New Orleans at the Superdome, when I think they ended up beating them 55-10 or something along those lines. Yeah. And those late touchdowns are a joke. I mean, the game was 40-6, and I want to say Kansas City had 30-something or 70-something yards. I mean, it was the definition of a curb stomp, beating, woodshed, boat race, all wrapped into one. I mean,
all wrapped into one.
With that said, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Wild Sun, and when we come back, let's do a couple hot topics that hit on other teams besides just Philadelphia and KC. We will be right back. So our next topic here, Philadelphia did take a little bit of a hit after the Super Bowl. Kellen Moore was named the New Orleans Saints head coach. So now we have another head coach in the league at 36 years old. So there's definitely a lot of very talented young coaches that are making their way to the NFL that could have very long, successful stints.
Well, like we talked about with Detroit, losing everybody that they lost as far as the coaching staff goes, I do not think that Kellen Moore is as big a hit to Philadelphia as Ben Johnson was to Detroit. Because if you remember, Nick Sirianni is an offensive guy. So the playbook that Philadelphia has does not change because Kellen Moore leaves. It doesn't have to change at all. Now, Detroit, on the other hand, no, but you see the comparison? Like, Brett, do you agree? Like, Kellen Moore, you hate losing an offense coordinator. And even Nick Sirianni said, hey, Kellen, we want to roll it back. But Kellen Moore leaving Philadelphia does not hurt Philadelphia as much as I believe Ben Johnson leaving Detroit. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree with you there. Unfortunately, I agree with you there. You might be on to something there. But Kellen Moore's a good play caller. Go back and look at him at Dallas. And I think Jerry Jones definitely everybody knows Dallas is just a train wreck right now. But Jerry Jones could have made a good move there and grabbed Kellen when the whole McCarthy and everything else happened. He would be in a hell of a lot better spot than where he is right now. Kellen Moore's a good offensive mind, and he's been a hot name. And I think if they will give him time in New Orleans, he will do a good job. It's a total rebuild in my eyes. So they can't just give Kellen 1 year and say good luck. Give the kid 3 years and get some good drafts under him, and I think he can be a successful head coach. I really do. But no, Ben Johnson is so dynamic. And they don't have the offensive and defensive line in Detroit that Philadelphia does. So, again, that goes back to my topic before the year. I said, look, if Sirianni cannot screw this up, you remember I said that, I'm worried. I know Philadelphia was the most talented team, but if, I was worried Sirianni was going to screw it up. Well, he didn't, and look where they're at. So, no, I agree with you. Detroit it's a lot bigger loss for Detroit than it is for Philadelphia.
100%.
So I still think Kellen Moore to the Saints with the right quarterback and with the right couple of drafts, I think Kellen Moore could be very successful in New Orleans.
Ed, would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about, Tampa Bay is a quality team, but it's something about that division.
It's weak.
It just screams 500 teams.
It's weak.
There just isn't. I don't know. Kellen Moore has a hell of an opportunity because if he can get a quarterback and put his stamp on that team, can he be something? Yeah, maybe eventually, but I don't think you're going to find that the Kellen Moore head coaching job is going to be a big splash like for some other teams.
Yeah, not immediately, no, because the talent that New Orleans does have, it's aged. I'm sorry, but if they want to get back to competing for NFC championships, like where they were under Breeze and Peyton, it's a total rebuild in New Orleans. You can't patch that together. It's broke down there. So they're going to have to grind it out and build the team from the ground up, just like the Commanders have done, Detroit, Philadelphia. It's not. They might win 3 games next year, and everybody's going to be. Look, Kellen's a good offensive mind. I'm sorry, he's been successful everywhere he's been. You gotta give the man some talent.
But he's got an easier road to the playoffs than a Ben Johnson does with the Bears.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah,
we could sit here and argue.
Yeah,
we could sit here and argue all day long that we believe Ben Johnson is a better coach, but we could easily see Kellen Moore in the playoffs next year and the Bears not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just division wise.
Oh yeah.
Division.
The NFC North
You
and
know.
South right now, there is no comparison. Ed's right, and it's been like that for 3 or 4 seasons now. They've just a lot of those. The owners and the GMs have had some really bad drafts, and you know, you look at go back and look at Mel Kiper's draft grades the last 3 years, and look at who those teams were, and it damn sure wasn't any of the NFC South teams, and that catches up with you.
Now there's going to be some interesting teams, Penix in Atlanta, and Mayfield in Tampa Bay. They're going to be interesting, but I'd rather take my chances with interesting than Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. You know,
so let's take a few minutes then and let's talk about the NFC West, because as you know, I would argue that the Rams are on the uptick, although you're hearing Matthew Stafford is getting some offers from other teams. Why he would ever leave the Rams for the New York Giants, I'll never know. But I don't think that'll happen. But, you know, as the Rams are the up-and-coming in the NFC West, Debo comes out with San Francisco and requests a trade. Now, I know, Eric, you've been a big Brock Purdy supporter. What do you look at there? What's your initial thought about Debo leaving San Francisco? Is it good riddance, or do you think for San Francisco State that they need to try and make this work?
The whole problem is which Debo are we talking about? Are we talking about 2021 Debo? Are we talking about 2024?
Because his biggest problem is he can't stay healthy.
Right. 2021 Debo, there would be teams lining up to say, we'll give you what you want, San Francisco. That's great.
Yeah.
2024 Debo is not the same guy. So, first of all, San Francisco is not going to be willing to take a chance that if they trade to the Rams, that he turns into 2021 Debo. That's not going to happen. If Debo goes somewhere, I could see something like the Raiders, Denver. I mean, I could see teams like that. Seattle, maybe. No, they're not going to go in division. There's no way. And I don't even foresee them unless it was just the trade of the century, you know, Herschel Walker from Dallas to Minnesota. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way they're going to go to the NFC if they can help it.
Yeah, the rumor mill comes out, and DK Metcalf is rumored to be heading to Houston Texans. So
that would make a lot of sense.
Seattle.
It would. You're going to give Stroud a weapon like Metcalf. I mean, let's face it. Seattle, you know, Geno's okay, but is he going to win?
Seattle's still trying to find their identity.
Yes, but as far as Debo goes, they're not going to the NFC West team. So Seattle, the Rams, those guys are out. I could, however, see a Pete Carroll saying, "Come on, we got this, we got that. We'll take you. We got Bowers already. We'll take you."
That Bowers is a man, isn't he?
Yes, I could see Denver and Sean Payton saying, "Come on, we could find a spot for Debo Samuel."
Yeah.
Now, as far as San Francisco goes, if there was going to be a piece that you were going to let go, you can't let Ayuk go. You signed him this year, he gets hurt, whatever. I mean, you're going to have to run him back. George Kittle had arguably one of his best years this year in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to roll with Kittle. And McCaffrey, until it is just sayonara, you've got to run McCaffrey. So of the Avengers, Debo was probably the odd man out. And because of his health, to me, if San Francisco is going to move him for a haul, because you're going to move him as if he's 2021 Debo, not 2024 Debo, and see what you get. Stockpile some draft picks, those types of things. I really do think it's irrelevant. I think Debo Samuel is irrelevant as far as Brock Purdy or whoever goes, because I think this year he was kind of the lost Avenger. He was the one that, his impact just wasn't felt this year.
Yeah. I'd love to share a little bit on Debo. I'm pretty familiar with him from the SEC. He was definitely a Swiss Army knife at South Carolina. I followed him since he was a freshman. And again, I get criticized by some of my comments on social media. I'm a 45-year-old, fat, out of shape, white guy.
Husky.
I'm thick, big boned, and I like my vittles, But I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to be an athlete. This is not Debo from South Carolina or San Francisco the last few years. He's overweight, period. He's overweight. He's slow. And what I saw some of his behavior on the sidelines last year, including going after that kicker, if they had any leadership on that 49er team, like a Richard Dent or someone from back in the day, Mike Singletary, they would have grabbed Debo by the throat, and that would have been the end of it. But nobody checked him for that, and he showed some other prima donna signs that we typically see from some of these wide receivers when they start not getting their way or not getting the ball like they feel like they should. I have nothing really against Debo, but absolutely San Francisco needs to see if they can't get a decent offensive lineman or defensive lineman for Debo, because that's where San Francisco has really, in my opinion, tailed off last year, was at the lines of scrimmage. And again, look at what Philadelphia did. Look at Kansas City's had a dominant offensive and defensive line over the years. Debo, in my eyes, that we knew 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, South Carolina, that Debo is gone.
Yes.
He's not coming back. And it's unfortunate. It's part of life. The man's made a lot of money. He's been a Swiss Army knife. He's got a lot of talent, but he's washed. Trade him.
It's funny. It's surprising that you say a comment about Debo. I'm watching Debo over the years. The last comment that I would ever think that you would make was that he was slow, because Debo in his prime, when Debo would catch those quick hitters over the middle or those slants, if you didn't get him down and he got the crease, he was gone.
He was gone. Yeah. I don't know if he was just banged up all year, but I knew instantly at the start of the season he was heavy. I could tell that from the first game of the year. I said, Debo's heavy. Why is he heavy? Why? No, but why is he heavy? You're a professional athlete. Your job is to be faster than the people around you. So why are you in camp heavy?
But this is, and I would go back to our Travis Kelce talk too. Father Time is undefeated.
Yep.
And Father Time shows up at different times.
It does.
Tom Brady was a machine when it come to trying to fight off Father Time.
Just like Derrick Henry. I was going to mention that earlier.
Yeah. Diet, what he did, workouts, regimen, mental, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was Tom Brady. Travis Kelce's 34. I think he's going to be 35. What's his diet? What's his regimen look like? Now he's 34, 35. Debo's not that old. What's his regimen? What's his diet? What has he done to try to fight off Father Time?
He looks kind of like Eddie Lacy, like he really likes his food.
San Francisco's got a quandary as well with Christian McCaffrey, because say what you want, he's dynamic, but that too is when he's healthy. he's had a lot of trouble with injury. And I got to believe with Brock Purdy signing his big deal this year, I think they're going to have to get Christian McCaffrey to restructure his deal for a little less money because they just got too many big contracts if they even want to stay.
As much as I hate it, Christian McCaffrey still got the tread on his tires. He's still athletic enough. He's still got, but the injuries in the NFL, that's not going to go away, and we've seen a pattern here. Would you guys? They could get a mint for McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
Would they trade him? I mean, he's not going to stay healthy in the 17-game season, guys. It's not going to happen.
I think
he's proved that.
I think if the backup running back for San Francisco could have showed that he could stay healthy, that would have made that proposition a lot more tasty. But as you could see, as good as their backup did, he lasted a couple weeks before he was on the pine as well.
Right.
So,
I don't. I've struggled with McCaffrey question because I'm 100% okay with Debo walking. But I've struggled with McCaffrey because I do think that, like you said, Brett, there's tread left on the tires, but he is so dynamic.
Yeah.
He can kill you running the ball. He can kill you out of the backfield on the short dump offs, the screens. To me, he is that guy that San Francisco needs to hold on to maybe a year too long. There's going to come a time on the bottom line where we're saying, San Francisco just held on to him 1 year too long.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because that's what McCaffrey brings to the table.
He's fun to watch. I think San Francisco kind of pulled a Dallas before the season when Ayuk started with his fussing and boycotting practice and all that other and his public whatever. He got San Francisco to bite and give him a contract. In my opinion, he did not deserve. I'm real with the salary cap now. I watch these max deals, and I don't think he's a max player. And I think they made a big mistake that's going to end up haunting them in the future, kind of like Dallas with Dak and CeeDee Lamb. I see a very, similarity there, so to speak.
Well, and now, if you can't get a trade done for Debo, how do you bring him back?
Somebody will take Debo. Somebody, look, my goodness. I mean, look at some of the moves Carolina and the Jets and some of these other teams are made. They can find a buyer on Debo.
What about Washington? If they will go to NFC, just not in the division, what about Washington?
I think Washington's going to put it big money out there to try and get Garrett in a trade.
They've got some unbelievable cap space.
Yes, they do. Washington could be a problem. If they don't screw it up, they could be a problem.
Yeah.
All right, last one. I know we're at 2 hours, but we got to hit this last one real quick so we can't go on. Where does Aaron Rodgers end up?
And don't even say it because it ain't going to happen.
My first thought is Vegas or Minnesota. That was the two that came to my mind.
I say Aaron Rodgers will end up in Vegas. Probably most likely will be the ones that'll give him a shot.
What about him coming in the other day and then just telling him that they're going to move on from him? Talk about it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Indianapolis is another possibility.
Yeah.
Because they're ready to move on from their quarterback too.
Richardson,
he just hasn't made the.
I think. Gosh, he has some options. I think Aaron Rodgers still has some options. I know that sounds crazy. As much as I have some disdain for Aaron Rodgers, I think that Vegas is certainly a possibility. It just depends on how Pete Carroll evaluates him and says, okay, we're kind of in a win now situation. Does Aaron Rodgers give us that ability? I really didn't see it with the Jets last year, but there could have been, offensive line issue. There could have been a lot of stuff there as to why it didn't work. He had all his buddies there. You know, what does that mean for?
It could be because he's 40 years old and he's just coming off a major surgery.
How about this? How about Pittsburgh?
I've seen some stuff on Pittsburgh.
Here's why I don't think Pittsburgh is going to happen. To me, it makes total sense.
Yeah,
because I'm not a big Justin Fields believer.
Right.
The kid's an athlete, but I just think his ability to read the field is just not there. But can you really see? Like, I take Tomlin as,
oh yeah,
I don't like crap in my locker room. Look at the Plaxico Burress. When they start talking crap in a Pittsburgh Steelers locker room, where do they end up? Somewhere else. I mean, can you imagine Tomlin going to the podium and saying, well, Aaron Rodgers is on a retreat. He's not going to be here for a couple weeks. Yeah. I mean,
those personalities are not going to mesh. Just like when there was rumors of Deion to Dallas. I said, there ain't no way in hell Deion's going to put up with Jerry, and there's no way Jerry's going to put up with Deion. It ain't going to work.
It ain't going to work. And so to me, the personality thing doesn't work in Pittsburgh, Ed. I think teams that are more willing to take a flyer on him, I think the Giants. I mean, they have neighbors. I think the Giants' offensive line is just as bad as the Jets, so I just can't. But
they'll get him
the Giants
killed.
might take a flyer on it. Yeah. I think Vegas is probably the most intriguing because I do believe in Pete Carroll. They have Bowers there. Hell, I mean, does Devontae Adams follow him back to Las Vegas? I don't know. But I do think that wherever Aaron Rodgers ends up, he is not in the position to dictate to anybody.
No.
He is going there to simply be the quarterback. It is not going to be I've got to have Allen Lazard. I've got to have Randall Cobb. I've got to have Devontae Adams come with that. I don't think that happens at his next stint. I think it is, okay, we're bringing you to be the quarterback, and I need to shut your mouth and be the quarterback. He kind of lost that ability when he went to the Jets, and things just really fell apart.
Ed, I'm sorry, but looking at every team and thinking about every team, I think me and Eric both would be surprised if it's anyone other than Vegas or Minnesota.
Well, you know, they said that Aaron Glenn, when he became the new head coach of the Jets, sat down and they said from the get-go, I remember watching Speak and Keyshawn Johnson on the day that Aaron was hired, he said, I can tell you with 100% assurity that Aaron Rodgers will not be the quarterback for the New York Jets because Aaron Glenn is not going to stand for Aaron Rodgers' attitude. So rumor had it that when he actually met with Aaron Rodgers, he said, okay, here's how it's going to be. If you're going to be the quarterback for the Jets, you're going to be at every mini camp, every practice. There's not going to be skipping anything. You're not going to go on any daily podcast shows, which you all know who he was talking about. And you're not going to be constantly creating turmoil for the team. You're not going to be on that anymore, and started laying out all these rules. And basically, Aaron Rodgers had none of it and said, I'm out of here. Adios.
I'm out of here.
So Aaron Glenn knew that when he said that, that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to say yes to it. So,
hey, Aaron Glenn is probably a milder version of Mike Tomlin. So there's no way that's no way.
To me, honestly, can you really see?
Not funny, Mike. Not funny.
Listen, Mike, I agree with you.
Mike.
It's destiny, Mike. Destiny, the old Packers quarterbacks end up going to Minnesota and ripping their hearts out after going to the Jets.
Brett Favre was one of those guys you could root for. Aaron Rodgers, I talked about burning my jersey last year. It will without a doubt will happen if that comes true.
Aaron Rodgers is a walking penis.
Well,
Google it. There's a picture of him. If you Google walking penis, there's a picture of Aaron Rodgers.
Here's the deal.
So we almost made it to the end of the show.
Right. I'm not going to sit here and say that at one time he wasn't one of the most talented, if not the most talented quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get to his age, coming off of Achilles surgery and stuff like that, it was clear that Aaron Rodgers this year was not Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago for Green Bay or 3 years ago for Green Bay.
No.
For him to me, and Aaron Rodgers should say at this point, if let's say the Giants say, yep, come on up, man. We don't have anybody else. Come on up. Well, you got neighbors to throw to, and we'll figure something else out. He should be like, thank you. I'll do my best. I'll give you everything I got.
I don't think
the problem is he's not going to be that guy, Brett. He's not going to be that guy.
Oh. And he'll at his age, man, he'll get killed in New York. They don't have no offensive line.
No.
He needs to retire before he even thinks about that.
The biggest
that wasn't a tornado, was it?
Oh, I saw you just kind of do the whole.
I've been watching Storm Tracker, but all of a sudden Brett got pretty interested.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
So, guys,
but that really puts a bow on the NFL season, man.
I'm gonna say we was wondering how we was gonna make 2 hours happen tonight, but we should know better by now.
Well, yeah,
that we got the gift of gab when it comes to football, and so it's going to be 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we got to wrap things up. Let our viewers go to bed because I'm sure they got a big day at work tomorrow. But we sure appreciate everybody listening, and we encourage you to go to our page and like and follow.
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. We got to push YouTube. We got to push YouTube because, we'll be with Facebook, I'm sure, through the UFL season. Because we have a real base of followers on Facebook, but we're going to be pushing the YouTube because by the time we kick off the college NFL season in late July, August of 25, we're probably going to be going exclusively to YouTube. So the more of you that we can get to subscribe to YouTube, the better, to make that transition a lot less painful. But want to thank everybody. Our followers are continuing to steadily climb. Brett's been doing an outstanding job interacting on social media. He's got an expertise on it where Eric and I kind of are more than willing to let that phase of the bottom line go to Brett because Brett has the gift of gab. He loves the social media stuff. So
yeah,
we're gonna let him continue to tackle that. But
yeah, so if I make anyone mad, just don't hold it against the show and Eric and Ed because it's usually me.
It's always you.
Yeah, it's the Ed and Eric police are always on the prowl to make sure Brett stays in line, but
they don't catch everything. They think they do. But.
Yeah. We try, but we don't.
But again, thank you to all the pages out there that allow us to post our show each and every week, and all the viewers that put it on their personal pages. We really appreciate it. But with that said, we are going to wrap things up for another week.
All UFL, baby.
We will see you again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central. We'll see you. Have a good weekend.
And that's the bottom line.